This podcast contains adult themes, explicit language, and the kind of conversations your browser history would rather forget. Listener discretion is advised, and curiosity is highly encouraged.
Pawn for thought. Pawn for thought. Pawn for thought. Pawn for thought. I could beatbox if you want.
New year, new us. Except everything's the same. Welcome to Pawn for Thought, where we've changed absolutely nothing and we're now in a second season.
Not only that, we're not better people than we were last year.
We're not better people than we were last
New
year.
year,
That is goddamn true.
same us.
Okay, tell me about it. Like, what are we doing today?
Today we are talking about exhibitionism and voyeurism.
I think both of us have seen this type of porn play out, like, all over the place. You know, when you're talking to people, it seems fairly commonplace for people to either fuck in public or be watched or try to do it and not get caught. And there's that beautiful little moment of risk and arousal with public sex. It is something that we are obviously very interested in understanding a bit more about.
For sure. Exhibitionism comes from the Latin term exhibere, which means to display, whereas voyeurism is from the French word voir, meaning to see.
And you really did some research. Interestingly, though, in our current sociocultural settings, the sexual arousal that comes from exposing genitals or sexual activity in front of other people. And I guess the same can be said of voyeurism, where it's about the sexual arousal you get from watching. For us, our purpose is going to be looking at this from the consensual perspective.
Correct. We're talking about either being the watcher or being the watched.
And knowing those things are happening and being totally, utterly cool with it.
Exactly. So if you're somebody who enjoys other people watching you get off or do something sexual, then you might be considered an exhibitionist. Whereas if you're someone who likes to go the opposite way and watch other people doing something sexy or getting themselves off or even just being naked in public, that sort of thing, you're the voyeur.
Yeah.
I was trying to contribute. You've got all these great facts and I'm like, yes.
Yep. So good.
Nailed it.
Really nailed it. Do you think that somebody who's in public, let's say nature reserve, there's no one else around, do you think that somebody else being present makes it exhibitionism? Or if it's just them in a nature reserve jerking off and no one else is around and they know that they're probably not going to get seen at all, but the taboo and the thrill is in the fact that it is a public place, do you think they are different things or the same?
The actual term itself and where it derives from is that Latin exhibere, which means to display. So, like, if you're displaying, does that not sort of insinuate that there's somebody to see the display?
Philosophy. It's got that whole, if a tree falls in a forest and no one else is around to hear it, did it make a sound?
If a man jerks off in the forest and no one sees him, did he really jerk off in the forest?
It is actually really difficult to find statistics, I think, and not to take away from the topic necessarily, but as we're watching, I guess, the world around us have a very divided approach to porn and sexuality, we're also seeing reporting around porn and sexuality shift. And it can be a little bit harder to find statistics. Within some of the available stats, we've got a global prevalence that's kind of around 10%. So 10% of people would be watching voyeuristic, exhibitionist type pornography. However, we can't really be entirely sure how much of it crosses over with different sexual subcultures. And are we not all voyeurs in some way? If we're watching porn, you're a voyeuristic little bean.
Exactly. If you're watching people in public and silently judging them, you're a voyeuristic little bean.
You're walking down the street, someone starts making out in Coles, and there you are, dead staring them in the yogurt aisle. You are a voyeuristic little bean.
We're all voyeurs now. We're all in this together.
So back to stats. The one really big clear stat that came out was that people in Ireland are 45% more likely to watch forms of public sex than any other country in the world. And all I can guess is it's them rolling hills. It makes sense to me.
I was going to say they have such, delightful, beautiful scenery out in their countryside that why wouldn't one go out there and denigrate it with your deviancy?
Denigrate it with your deviancy. I really thought you were going to say something like splash a seed around. That was actually beautiful. You took the English language and made it something lovely, and I appreciate you for it. There's research that says that voyeuristic interests can be present for about 35 to 47% of adults.
Makes sense when you're talking about it in the context of porn, because if you're watching porn, I mean, essentially you are the voyeur, not necessarily the exhibitionist, unless perhaps you're the people that are creating content.
Or if you're, I guess, going out into public places and trying not necessarily to get caught, but knowing that it's a possibility. There's about 30% of the general population that would fit into exhibitionist behaviors, but this does not necessarily extend itself to strict exhibitionism where it'd be exposing genitals to a stranger. So that's your flashes. And that moves into that illegal distress territory. But a portion of us are cool with making out in public and being seen, or trying to touch someone maybe intimately and being a little bit aroused by the risk of being caught in that way.
Or if you're anything like the woman that I saw on Pornhub, you're okay with shoving a dildo in yourself on a train in public.
Were there other people on the train?
Yeah, there's people getting on and off the train at the stations. I was a big boy, and she was like almost naked, like leg up on the seat. If anyone was looking toward her direction, yes, 100% they would know. But again, that kind of blurs the lines of consent, right? Because she doesn't ask those people on the train whether they want to see that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good point to make about exhibitionism and voyeurism, that we need to be mindful of our environment. And as much as that sense of I want to be able to be caught, or I want to risk being caught, or I want to know that other people aren't paying enough attention to catch me.
There's a big difference between those two things. Like, for instance, you're not going to go to a park and jerk off in the middle of the day when you know that it's near a kid's playground, as opposed to you might go to the park at night where there's a playground and there's no kids and jerk off because no one's going to find you, right?
Honestly, man, I think if you just said go to a park and jerk off at night, I'd be like, yeah, okay. The playground part
Okay, so
pushed it into a space for me where I was like, it's a no, because why does it need to be near the playground? Why can't you go somewhere
well, I
else in the
know
park?
people that have been to parks at night and had sex on seats and benches and stuff around playgrounds, not necessarily on the playground. I meant within the grounds of the playground.
Okay, within the grounds of the playground. Thank you for clarifying.
You know,
that would have bothered me for the rest of the week. I would have been like, how? And every time I would have seen a playground from here on out, I would have been like, where would they do it? Where would be a comfortable spot? You can really tell I've never fucked on a playground before. Like,
look, I'll let you in on a little secret. That person was me.
fuck off.
It was a long time ago, and it was definitely more opportunistic than exhibitionism or voyeurism.
I don't have a problem with the playground because I think, like, on its own, obviously it's a non-sexual item. It's also super fun, even as an adult. They've got swings, they've got slides, you've got them little climby thingies. Sometimes there's a little rock wall. I don't know, it's a good time. But I guess if you're out there and you are specifically jerking off in a park because of the playground, you might need to speak to a psychologist.
I'd agree.
Just saying. We never judge, but we do worry.
If you're, in a public place doing something that is considered to be sexual without the consent of other people and they see you, there's a good chance that you could end up in some real trouble.
And that goes similarly for voyeurism. So you're watching somebody, you're watching someone get changed, you're watching someone get naked, things like upskirting or any type of public filming against someone's consent and knowledge is going to land you in a pot of hot water. So consent is our big takeaway. Why do people actually get amongst voyeurism and exhibitionism? Like, why is that a thing that people are interested in?
I mean, it sounds as though there is a whole lot of themes that intersect, in particular, like shame, power, visibility, adrenaline, excitement.
And then there's, I guess, curiosity about the taboo of it. So we know that we're not supposed to do it in those places. Like, there's very strict rules. You can get arrested, get fined, you can get jail time, depending what they catch you doing. It's strongly policed. But essentially, that the more risk there is, sometimes the more turned on you can feel.
I think the idea of people having sex in public goes against all of those things that, we've been taught for so long aren't socially acceptable to do in public, where people might be able to potentially see.
That can be a pretty big turn on. And also the desirability, I guess, would be another one. So this idea that someone might see you and then they might want to stop to watch, and you can feel like sexually desirable because someone has kind of stayed in that space. It helps some people feel very attractive and seen, but then there's also that secrecy of like, keep your mouth shut. So we're acknowledging that this is a high risk situation, and I may never know your name or interact with you in any way. Both sides of the coin are very interesting. There's a couple of effects. There's the adrenaline effect of that risk boosting arousal. We might get caught, which activates a stress response in our brain. Then the adrenaline kicks up, it overlaps our neural pathways, and then that combination intensifies the sense of arousal. And then when we combine that with the taboo factor, so we notice rule breaking, and when something feels slightly forbidden, we can start to feel emotionally heightened. So if we combine that with the adrenaline we're getting from might get caught, then we're getting quite a significant amount of arousal. And then on top of that, we are novelty seeking. Our brains love a little novelty. That unpredictability helps sustain longer term stimulation. So you can get turned on for longer, you get longer dopamine hits, you get all of that because it's new and it's interesting and it's unpredictable. And all of those things are happening at the same time on both sides. I might get caught watching, I might get caught doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. It seems as though those physiological impacts or experiences are things that are happening on both sides, because they're sort of doing something a little bit naughty, a little bit taboo, something that they shouldn't be doing according to what society, has sort of told us throughout time. And it's exciting.
Specifically at the park at night near a playground.
Fuck yeah, on the playground.
One other part of it is this idea of access and control, which I actually think is super interesting because it feeds into so many other power dynamics of situations where if you're being watched, there's a control of I'm doing this thing and you can't touch me, you can't interfere. It's happening. And like I have control over that. And then there's the control from the other side of voyeurism where it's like, oh, I have control in the way that I'm looking at something maybe I shouldn't be looking at. And it makes me feel like I'm being let in on a secret. I'm a bit more powerful. I've got some control of what's happening here. And I'm having access to something I shouldn't necessarily have access to, which increases our sense of desirability.
Yeah, for sure. I think especially through the context of porn, they can't see you. They know you're there. They know you're watching.
Low cost taboo is what it's called. We're talking specifically about pornography, and as a viewer, you experience the rule breaking, you experience the taboo, the control of being able to watch, the access of something secret, the possibility and the risk of getting caught without any actual danger. You're at home. It's low cost, it's low risk, but our body reacts to that novelty and tension and the overlapping neurological stimulation. So we can get pretty turned on watching that stuff, even if we're in our own home. You get to experience that psychological stimulation and the risk arousal without leaving the dark confines of your cave-like bedroom. And your body gets to react to the novelty and tension, and you are completely safe. Then there's the identification flexibility, which is where we can identify as either being the watcher or the person being watched. And you can explore how your fantasy goes through that. And part of the reason we're talking about it as two sides of the same coin is because dual identification is something that occurs, which is when you watch pornography that is exhibitionist in nature, you are experiencing it as a voyeur, but you can also fantasize about yourself as an exhibitionist. So you can have a dual identity within that porn, which is really interesting. Mirror neurons in the brain activate when we perform an action at the same time we observe someone else doing it. So it can feel really embodied, as though you are the person doing the action in whatever you're watching, which is part of the reason that we have such a good reaction to porn, because we have those mirror neurons light up and they think it's simulating the experience of what we're seeing on the screen. And this activates participation on a neurological level, which is quite cool.
That's a very interesting fact.
Right? That's what I thought.
There is a few other reasons why people might be watching this kind of porn, and one of those things is the shift in the way that we access this kind of content due to technological advances and people being able to just get online and access things in a way that they never used to be able to. And it's also more normalized because of this cultural shift toward being able to watch people from a voyeuristic sense.
We've got a sensory seeking demand culture. I want something, I want it now.
Yeah, so we kind of live in more of an instant gratification society because we have better access or easier access to things that previously we would have taken a lot more effort to be able to, mind the pun, come across. Yeah, as you're saying, like, you can get online and you can search for man jerking off in park, whereas in the past you would have had to go to a park and be walking around for hours waiting to see whether there's someone jerking off in a park, or you had to be that guy.
Yeah, like the boundary between what's public and what's private is very blurred now. And because of that, we're so used to watching other people online and being watched. I think what I'm trying to say is, with voyeurism and exhibitionism, it's the regaining of control in that space, where when you post something, you really don't have a lot of control. Unless you have a private audience, you don't have a lot of control on how it's perceived, how other people respond to it. But when you are watching pornography as a voyeur, even imagining yourself in an exhibitionist role, you can have more control over how you envision yourself being perceived. God, that's a lot of words. Are we ready for our piece of fun history, my little beans?
Please.
One of the big things in early cinema was that people sat in a dark room, watched illuminated bodies on screens, and sometimes they would masturbate. This became so popular that we had like cinemas specifically for this. To this day, you could probably still find a few back alley jobs like that, but it normalized masturbating in a public place while being voyeuristic, with the risk of being caught, but knowing that you were actually quite safe because the environment was controlled.
Yeah, and it's not even back alley stuff. Like, there's actual clubs that you can go to, or adult shops that do have cinemas in the back that you can go to do the same thing. And on top of that, now we have this culture of people who will organize to meet at these places and either watch or be watched or join in depending on what they're into.
That's so cool. So there's your voyeurism, exhibitionism in action.
Yeah.
The thing that I really enjoyed when I was looking up the history was this little fun fact, and it made me very excited. The term peeping Tom, which applies to our voyeuristic friends. The actual history of the term is that we've all heard of Lady Godiva. She rode through a town naked on a horse. So the legend is that Lady Godiva's husband promised to lower taxes if she rode through the town naked. She ordered the residents to stay indoors and close their shutters. But there was one man named Tom, and he could not resist looking, so he became the sole watcher of the act. So in the 1700s, peeping Tom was commonly used to describe a voyeur, and we still use it today. It's still a term we've got, but it's based off one little dude named Tom who couldn't handle his peep. And apparently did a really bad job of being quiet and not getting caught.
People knew it was Tom, didn't they?
But imagine, like, how obvious Tom would have had to have been for someone to be riding through the town on a horse naked. Everyone else has got their shutters closed, and Tom's just...
Tom was peeping. Tom was creeping.
Peeping, creeping, and seeping.
Peeping, creeping, and leaking.
Ew.
if it's something that you do want to have a go at, there are a lot of different avenues that you could go down. For starters, watching some porn in the privacy of your own home can be a way to test the waters. There are different ways that you can connect with other people who would like to do the same kind of thing in a consensual way. So that might be joining groups on platforms like Reddit, meeting people through online dating platforms, having conversations with maybe people that you have been acquainted with in, a sense where it feels safe to have conversations that are sexual, to try and get an understanding of whether it's something that other people are into. And if so, perhaps there's an avenue there for you to be able to engage with those people of a like-minded interest. But always remember that this is something that does require consent, whether you want to watch another couple or whether you're somebody who wants other people to watch you. It's super important to make sure that everyone is aware of what's going on and that everyone is consented to what's going to happen.
There's also websites like FetLife, Red Hot Pie, where you could probably find people who are interested. Or if you wanted to, you can look up your local sex club and see what's going on there, because sometimes you can find like-minded individuals who are interested in doing the same thing and approach them in a safe, consensual space where you can run this little concept past them and see what you can do.
Yeah, swingers parties or swingers clubs are also a really good option too, because they do have rules around, how and when you can or can't watch. And that's something that, can be explained when you do go to those sorts of venues.
One of the things I thought was really interesting, and I hadn't considered it before, was that voyeurism and exhibitionism aren't necessarily welcome traits in a nudist colony. So people who do nudist retreats and nudist holidays with groups, typically they will make sure that you're not engaging in that kind of behavior, because people are there to be nude and not be seen being nude or being observed being nude, just to be nude, which I thought was really, it makes sense. It totally makes sense, but I just hadn't thought about it.
Yeah, it really does. I think people kind of get a sense that anytime people are naked, it's in a sexual sense, and that's not the case. Like, you can be naked with other people, and it's just an experience. It's a way to feel liberated. It's a way to drop any sense of status or social hierarchy. We're all just people hanging out with no clothes on, and we're just there to have fun.
So one of the things that I guess we take away from this is that both sides of this coin, at the common fantasy end, around that sense of access and empowerment and desirability and sexual arousal and safety. And how do we achieve that? And that's pretty much making sure that your environment's safe, making sure that people in it are consenting.
I think it's also really important to maybe even talk about things like aftercare, because being naked or being watched or being the person who's watching can sort of bring up a lot of big thoughts and feelings for a lot of people. So, I think part of a safe environment is being able to have those conversations about any of those sorts of feelings that might come up as well.
That's very true. When we think about both exhibitionism and voyeurism, but I think in this case more exhibitionism, when you are aroused, the part of your brain that does all that overthinking, all that am I attractive, who's finding me attractive, maybe like that's my ugliest big toe kind of stuff, gets shut down. And then as soon as you have kind of met that need, your brain has a little bit of a rest and then it switches back on. And so our vulnerability, I guess, and insecurity can really kick back in. And that is when we really need that aftercare.
You hit that post-nut shame spiral and all of a sudden you need a hug.
Yeah, you were so beautiful. You did such a good job. Your big toe does not look like the nut from Ice Age.
Post-nut peer support.
Post-nut peer support.
Where we support our peers post-nut.
New year, new nut. And we're back for 2026. We're surprised how far we've come. And if anybody hasn't been here before, our post-nut peer support is where we find comments on the porn that we watched to inform our research on this particular topic. And we see the way that you care about each other in the comment section and the community and peer support that you have built around each other post-nut.
I totally forgot that was what it was about. I totally forgot that it was about the sense of community in the comments.
All right, top comments of the week. I have, if a construction site looks like this, fire everyone, sue everyone, and demolish the whole house.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it properly.
Right? Look after the place that you're working in, okay? At the end of the day, tools down, broom up.
Exactly. All right, so I watched a video, and essentially it was a guy jerking off in a car. I guess it's exhibitionism because he was hoping that somebody would see him. And not only did she see him, she came over and she jerked him off through the window. And the
Wow.
comment is, I don't think this is the Fast and Furious sequel.
Oh, that's great. Was the guy bald?
I can't remember.
Oh man, go back and watch it. I want to know if Vin Diesel's guest starred.
No, it definitely wasn't Vin Diesel. It was Vin unleaded.
Vin number.
Vin number.
Oh.
That's a good one.
Thank you. A girl got into the car. A woman came out. So context is this is from a dogging video. There was public masturbation. Says, hey, lovely lady, I know this place. Be there tomorrow at 5 p.m. And I want to stress that the little picture next to this person's profile is someone with their dick out and the Union Jack covering just the tip. It just makes no sense.
I'm a true patriot. I put the bloody Union Jack on me knob.
Okay, this one killed me. Basic context, people are in cars. Okay, so first comment is, what's with the music? I'm trying to have a wank, not a rave. And then the comment underneath is, can you stop it with the music? I'm trying to bust a nut, not bust a move.
It's a real mood killer when you're trying to have a wank and somebody's just
My God.
out there busting out a bloody...
Yeah, could you imagine like that? What's it? I'm blue. Oh, I wouldn't be able to finish. I'm done there.
I'd probably finish even quicker. Well, we finished. Did you? That's a wrap on our first episode for 2026. If you enjoyed it, please let us know. If there's anything else you want to know or anything that you have questions about, feel free to drop us a line. If not, we'll see you next time. Shout out to Frankie for literally reading through hundreds of porn comments and for all their hard work on making this sound reasonable.
In the theme of voyeurism and exhibitionism, thank you for being our audience. Thanks for listening, even though you didn't watch, but you know you wanted to. And we'll see you next time on your favorite family barbecue background chat show.
Peace.